Yes, we do.
We can hear John.
Good afternoon.
John,
Hello, I am here.
you can hear us?
I can hear you.
Oh my gosh. Hey, don't call.
Oh, I got the Corona filter on.
Corona Light.
Yeah, that's what I have. Corona Light.
Morning, Brittany.
I think everyone has something to here because it's coming. We are live. We are live and we have John Genovese on the phone. No one else speaking.
Let's go. Let's just go last on projects. Remind me to call that, okay? Go to projects. You put yourself at the end of the agenda there. Okay?
Going here.
Good morning, Dwayne.
Morning.
We are live.
You're right. Oh, governing. Governing.
Meeting has not began yet.
What did you just tell me we missed? Oh, yeah. Are we ready, folks? Okay.
Hey, Deb.
Yes?
Can you hear me? It's John.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, the audio is all broke up.
Okay. How about now?
Still broke up. It sounds like broken up. It sounds like the internet connection is not too awfully good.
John, is it just Deb or is it everyone?
It sounds bad on this end here too. This is Dwayne.
For both of us when I talk also? What? Well, I don't
Test.
know. We can't do much about the internet connection.
Gentlemen, can you hear me any better now?
Well, I can hear you. I just don't understand what you're saying because of the broke up. You know, it's like a bad cell connection back in the day.
Try it again. Gentlemen, can you hear us now? There may be a
I
change.
can hear Gary good, but I'm having trouble hearing what's coming from you guys in the facility.
It's not the microphone, there's an internet connection issue that both of them are having. Do we have an Ethernet cable long enough to reach this computer instead of running Wi-Fi? I mean, well,
I would tell you in my experience with these things, which is literally every single day, you might fix this by just everybody hanging up and calling back in. I think it's a phone connection issue.
well, there's only two of you on the phone, and you seem to be able to hear each other. And we hear you loud and clear on this end. So if you think it may be a connection issue, maybe leave the group and come back in. But You're loud and clear on this end.
Dave, but I suggest you do as unsuggested, is hang up and dial back in because I think it's on your end, not John or me.
Okay. In 1 second, we're going to end this meeting.
Well,
We'll be
yes.
back live in
Damn.
30 seconds.
Oh, that's for me to read.
Goodbye.
We're getting, everybody is understanding on this, just to update.
And also, Diane will be taking the questions as they come in, but as I said, they can't post anything. They can't be shared. So we're in good shape. How many did you have join?
We're having 18 live right now,
Okay. But how many joined?
123.
Good.
Welcome. You are the only participant in the conference.
Well, as soon as they join back up, we'll see if it's any better for them.
Okay. We're not live yet, are we?
We are live.
Hello, everybody.
We have 14 viewers on YouTube. Oh, 16 viewers on YouTube.
Okay.
23 on Facebook.
All right.
Not a competition.
So we will start the actual meeting here. We're waiting for two of our board members to hook up remotely here.
Dwayne is back.
All right.
Dwayne here.
Thanks, Dwayne. He'll know. Did you shut your phone off? Yes. Good. Did you get your phone off, Kara? Good. That's right.
Dwayne here.
We hear you. We're just waiting on John to come back.
It's unintelligible.
Can't hear us.
Dwayne, did you hear us?
It's garbled, very garbled.
Can we put him on?
Computer I can shut down to make more bandwidth. We don't have an Ethernet cable to plug in under the stage there. The long one. But
There was an Ethernet cable here before.
Do you want to get Dwayne on your
hearing us.
speakerphone to try to help him?
I am back.
No, you sound like that. USB. All we have.
Barb,
Can you hear me?
can you get John Genevieve's on your speakerphone?
John, sit tight 1 second. We're just going to try a USB cable, or I'm sorry, an Ethernet cable to see if it's a connection issue on our end.
You need it pretty long.
Yeah, there's something horrible going on there, that's for sure.
John, I can hear you just fine. This is Dwayne. Apparently the problem is the speakerphone.
Yeah, I'm not on a speakerphone.
No, but I think the people in the
Oh, I do.
center are.
I gotcha.
That's great.
We may, I don't know that we can actually get this done. I've heard already that the conference call is basically failing for the last couple of days. So.
Maybe the system has the coronavirus.
I'm gonna shut my power down on that.
Millions of people working at home, but
John, I do.
We've already tested the free conference call software, and it was loud and clear earlier.
And that's who you asked me.
We're just trying a couple more things.
Do you want us to put them on our speakerphones just to try something? No, not yet? Okay. I got his number here if we have to call him, okay?
Oh, hey, you know what?
What? John, we lost you while you were talking there. We're on Ethernet right
Dave,
now. Any change?
David, can you hear me?
Yes.
How about if I set up a conference call number and you can call it, and then Dwayne and I can call it, and we'll see if that works a little better?
Sure, we can definitely try a different, as long as it's something I can access with a computer, it can't be via telephone. Or you
you'll be, yeah, you would be able to access this with your computer,
Okay,
I
and
think.
seeing how you answered that question, can you hear me now?
Well, I can hear you, it's just very broke up, you know?
Still broke up. Well. Madam President, what would you like to do here?
Let's try calling them on our cell phones and see if they can hear. How's that sound? Any problem?
Do you want to try what John suggested, just in case?
Well,
Do you want to try and set it up with him? The conference call?
We have no way to get on that conference
Okay.
call
yeah,
as a group.
yeah, it's just a go-to meeting, you know, Deb, like we used to do with the,
Right.
Well, John, you said we can do that with a link on the computer, correct?
yeah, I can send you a link. Can you get your email?
Yes. Perfect.
Okay,
Do that, let's try it.
I'll send it to you and Dwayne, then I'll hang up, you go on to that, and we'll be golden again.
sounds good.
All right, so stay tuned for an invite in your email. I'm gonna hang up now.
All right.
Sorry out there in TV land. Please bear with us.
I got a text message that video and audio is good anyhow.
Good.
So it's good for everyone else except for the two on the phone?
That's
What are they on though? Are they on Facebook? Are they on Facebook?
Yeah, but no, somebody texted me, I just was putting on Facebook.
I bet everyone is using conference call software.
Barb? What if we ask Pat or Dwayne and John to get on our new Facebook page? And if they have a question, yeah.
Maybe they haven't signed up yet.
True. Diane, can I ask you, has John Genovese and Dwayne signed up for the new Facebook HOA page? They have not, okay.
Certainly can. I'm getting good comments, so everybody watching this can hear.
Can we have them go ahead and join that?
They-
They'll hear.
Yeah, the only way they could also watch the YouTube link. The only way they can participate is via text at that point.
Well,
That'd
they
be-
write comments.
They can write comments to her.
Yeah, I don't know, we tested this earlier with the free conference call app. I went out in the lobby and it was clear. I could hear Barry, he could hear me.
Don't you think everybody in the world is using this right now?
Yes, actually I do. I think they're all using free conference call and probably GoToMeeting, which he hasn't sent the link to yet.
Is it possible that between the two computers show up available?
Okay.
Maybe, but it's
I don't know what we have set up here.
between this computer and her iPad streaming out. Yeah, I could, but
We could do it on a HDMI. but-
no, it's not that. It's the internet bandwidth leaving the building.
Correct.
But we should have plenty
Okay.
for 2 people to stream.
John's sending you GoToMeeting. Why don't we have Dwayne go ahead and join Facebook and see if he can hear that okay? All right? So,
He's joining the GoToMeeting. John set up to
Dwayne,
20.
do you have Facebook up? Pat, do you have Facebook up?
I didn't.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to see it.
Well, you got about a minute delay with Facebook.
Test. All right, we have microphones. John, can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly well.
Dwayne, you're there? John, just so you know, we can see your computer desktop. There's a dog
Yes,
eating its
I do know
eye.
that.
So be careful about what you open up there.
That was my boy.
Oh,
That's actually not the one that lived here. It's one before him. But
I think it said there's three people, so it may be going on there.
There's nobody talking yet.
Dwayne is on. He's on the meeting. There you go. I think he just got his phone working. Oh, no.
oh, man, you see the dog. Cool. I didn't know.
Hello, this is Dwayne here.
All right.
Hey, Dwayne.
Hey, John.
Are we all good? Okay, can we go ahead and call this meeting to order? All in agreement? Are we calling this meeting to order? Okay. Let's go ahead and say our Pledge of Allegiance, please. Oh, geez.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States.
United States of America. Just stands, the nation, God, for all.
First of all, I want to apologize to all of our residents out there for the delay, but technology is always a challenge. And for those of you who are having coffee in your jammies still, I just wanted to go ahead and make an announcement before we officially start this meeting. You know, today, due to the virus, your board has decided that until further notice, there will be live broadcast of your HOA board meetings only. There will be no audience allowed in the town center, as well as we are taking the needed precaution of the 6-foot personal space, hand sanitizers, and Kleenex within arm's length of each board member, our audio visual crew, and any staff that's attending during this meeting. We're now providing every owner with the ability to view the HOA board meetings through 2 forms of social media. Of course, YouTube, and our newly created Facebook page, the Cypress Woods HOA Board. Yesterday, Brittany, our administrative assistant, and Diane Leffler, our social director, prepared an easy-to-follow instruction on how to join this Facebook page, and they have done truly an amazing, professional, easy-to-understand outline. Just a few of the features on the Facebook page that any resident can join. You just request to join once you are logged on to Facebook, and after that, Diane will approve your status and send you an approval to join. Also, the Facebook page is locked, so there are no postings allowed. As well, it is locked to prevent any sharing or forwarding of the content of this page. Now, residents, you can ask questions during the live broadcast on the Facebook page by simply entering your question. Diane Leffler will be conveying your inquiries to the board and will respond. You know, in this time of worldwide health crisis, we'll be using reliable and confirmed information to keep you informed of any community changes and updates. And with that being said, your board has decided to add another layer of protection against exposure within our gates to the following. Effective tomorrow, Friday, March 20th, we are locking the doors to the town center and the office area of the Welcome Center. The only public access to our common area clubhouses are this. Here in the town center, the pool and the spa will remain open for your enjoyment, as well as the outdoor restrooms and showers. That is the only thing you will have access to in the common grounds of the town center area. Now, the Welcome Center, the pool, these are open. The pool and spa, the public restrooms, the library, and laundry will remain open. The day spa is closed, as well as the pool and billiards area and the gym and the card room. The office area will remain locked, but our staff will be there. You will be receiving an email blast today to the entire community stating how you can contact the board, the staff, through either email or through different phone numbers. So be looking for that. I just want to thank everybody for your patience, your understanding, and the overwhelming support that this board has received on the comments supporting our actions during this virus. With that being said, let's get off to business here. First of all, under the governing section of the agenda today, first service contract renewal. Just wanted to let you know we have come to a final draft, and we'll be signing our contract next Tuesday with our first service management company. Next on the agenda, the developer lease. I believe, Pat, you can give us an update on that, correct?
Yeah, we've taken the 19-page lease that we originally had, boiled it down to 2 or 3. I'm going through making sure that we captured the things that we needed to get in there, and then I sent you a draft, and Joe a draft. But you guys look it over and see if I missed anything that you can think of. If not, we'll be ready to send it on to Dwayne.
And was this a second,
You'll have to speak up, Joe. Pull the,
was this a second copy that you sent out, or is that the first one?
It was, the one, when you called about the 2 items you had, I corrected that, sent out draft 2.
All right,
It was same day.
okay.
okay? That means that hopefully Mr. Dwayne Truitt and company will be moving in shortly thereafter, or as when they feel it's necessary, into the town center, their office space there. Just quickly, I wanted to update the board regarding our annual insurance renewal.
Are they moving into town center or welcome center?
Did I say town center? Sorry, welcome center offices. Thank you so much. I wanted to update the board on our annual insurance premium renewals. We actually have, it's either 5 or 6, I apologize, different types of insurance. We've been notified of our crime insurance. The annual rate is $730 a year, which is just $1 or $2 different than what we paid previously. Our D&O, or directors and officers insurance, last year was $2,780. This year it will be $4,600. We do not have the other renewals in place yet, but those will be coming out, and I'll make sure that I let everyone know what those increases, or hopefully stay the same, will be. Also wanted to update everybody, there are 2 lots here in Cypress Woods at the corner of ACD section, and they've been vacant for a long time. They were originally planned as what we call overflow parking for the activities at the town center. However, they were sold about 10 years ago at a forfeiture sale from the developer. 2 private parties purchased those at a very bargain rate. It's lots D85 and D86. I have asked our HOA attorney, Chris Thornton, to go ahead and send a demand letter to these 2 owners to advise them that because they haven't been paying their quarterly maintenance dues since then, and the statute of limitations is 5 years, we can go back 5 years and collect the money on these 2 accounts. So that is the update. They should have received the demand letters by now, and I'm sure it'll be a little bit, but we'll hear from their attorney as well on this. Our hopes are that the fees are going to hopefully will be an enticement maybe to just turn the properties over to us. Hence, we would have 2 more lots that we'll have a little space to deal with. This is not on the agenda, but Barb, would you like to go ahead and talk about the Cypress Woods storage area?
Sure. Can you hear me?
No, you got right into it.
Can you hear me? Thank you. Most of you will remember last year we had a lot of discussions about the storage pods, storage containers in our storage area, and how to handle when an owner turns in a lot with a storage container on it. We have 33 spaces, I believe, that have containers out there. There's only 51 available to lease, so as you can see, it's a considerable amount of people compared to the total. Last year, we had a lot of talk about it at our board meetings and came up with a questionnaire out to all the owners to ask them how they would like to handle when a storage container lot is turned in. We took the survey with only 2 questions to ask them. If a storage container lot comes up, do you think that the person that owns the storage container should be able to go down the waiting list in sequence to find a possible buyer of that storage container and let them slide in at that, or not? Make them wait until, and get rid of their own container. The majority was, yes, that was the fair way to do it. The problem was, we never actually voted on it as a board or put it in place as a storage area procedures. I'm gonna go ahead and just read, some of the updates that, for example, we had in our storage, policy that the folks that had two signatures or two, a lessor and a, person that they allowed to put storage space, stuff in their storage. We had several people that there were two to a, storage space. Now we just have three that are grandfathered in that have two people on, excuse me, we have three lots. We have three owners that have more than one space in their name because we changed it to where owners can now lease only one space. However, those folks that had more than one, we grandfathered them in to allow them to keep those spaces until they decided to turn them in. We still have Grace Johnston with 2 spaces, Dennis Scheit with 2 spaces, Frank Ferreira with 2 spaces. All the others have either turned them in or gone on and the spaces have been leased to someone else. We also allowed the folks that had more than one name on their lease to be grandfathered in to keep those 2 names on the lease. Otherwise, they were taken off of the list as far as being able to have a second person on there. There are now only 2 spaces with co-signers. Because we said the following co-owners will be allowed to have the lease transferred to them ahead of the waiting list if they were on that dual signature lease at the time we made that guideline. We had 9 spaces back then that had co-signatures. We now have only 2 spaces with co-signatures. The other policies, there's not really much change. We still have an annual leasing of the storage area is for owners only. The lease will begin January 1st and end December 31st. Owners may lease only 1 space. The exception to rule number 2 is for owners who currently have that grandfathered in, and I just told you who they were. That stayed the same. Number 3 on our policy is there will be no subletting of storage spaces. An owner or lessee will be allowed to share their storage space with someone if the owner or lessee chooses. However, they will be responsible for notifying that person when they intend to turn their space back in. There will only be 1 name and signature on the lease. The space will not automatically go to the person sharing with that lessee. The exception to rule number 3 is, as I said, the 2 that are still grandfathered in with 2 names on their lease. There will be no more 2 names on a lease. The lessee is required to get pre-approval from the property manager before any container is placed or removed from the storage area. That number 4 is added this year because we always, I guess, assumed, and you know where that gets you, that when someone brings in a storage container or takes one out, they're gonna go through the office first. That doesn't happen. But they're required, the lessee is required to do that now. This is the section that we have written, and hopefully we'll be able to vote and approve it, but for discussion, this is the new number 5. The HOA will maintain a wait list of owners wanting to lease a space as they become available. The top name on the list will be offered the available space. If there is a container on the space, the owner of the container will be allowed to contact all owners on the list in sequence to negotiate the sale of his container. If he is able to sell his container, that owner will be allowed to secure the container and the available storage space ahead of others on the waiting list. If within 2 weeks the container is not sold, it must be removed from the storage area and the space will be offered to the top of the list. Number 6 has been added. The owners on the wait list may be allowed to turn down a space if it is not the one they want, and retain their position on the list for the next one. That means with or without a container, if I'm on the top of the list and I get one that will not accommodate what I want to store on there, and I want to turn it back into the next one to come on the list, I slot down and I become number one after that person is off the list. Thank you.
Barb, how many are on the wait list right now?
David, is it 33 on the waiting list?
I don't know offhand, but
It's a large number.
It's 30-something.
Okay.
It is,
This is John. I have a question.
Please, John.
34.
I'm sorry, did you say I can go?
There's 34 people on the wait list, Barb confirmed, so please, John, what would you like to add?
Okay. Yeah, I thought I reviewed that questionnaire and subsequent board vote, and it was my understanding, the way I read it, that you could not jump down the list. The majority vote was that no, you could not jump down the list.
I'm sorry, I'm not understanding your terminology, jump down the list. What were you saying?
Well, yeah, so somebody comes up, they have a container, and, they want to go down the list to be able to sell the container, the waiting list. That was voted against. I fairly confident that's what I read and was shown just the other day.
Right. So there was a questionnaire sent to the community. We have the hard copies on file on Brittany's desk. They had two questions. One of them, there were two choices. It was, should owners be able to go down the list and sell if they have a storage container and sell to whoever wants it, or is it when your time is up, if you're giving up your storage lot, it goes to the next person on the list, period, and there's no requirement for the next person on the list to buy that lot. So what John is saying is what this says doesn't seem to be the one that had the majority of the votes at the time.
I took it from the board meeting minutes that we discussed that day. Do you?
I'm pulling everything up right now.
I think it was December.
Well, at the bottom
Okay.
of this, it says 13.
Let's do this. In order to save time, because we started late, let's just table this. Let's get you folks back together, and once we're gonna finalize it, we'll date it, and we'll this is a policy, so it does not require a vote, okay, other than the board to agree.
Sure.
So we'll go ahead, and Barb, if you guys will go ahead and take care of that,
I will do.
we'll get that out quickly, okay?
I have the questionnaire, and I can pull the minutes real quick if you want to just.
Nope,
we're not doing
we're moving on.
I've got it at home, so I'll do it later. Thank you. Thank you.
But thank you, and Dave, thanks for working on that with her. We're gonna move down the agenda now to the committee oversight reports. And John Genovese, if you'll go ahead and report on ARC.
Yeah, there's no additional information for the ARC outside of everything is running smoothly, and they worked on roughly 12 ARC requests over the last month.
Very nice. And then I believe you're referring the facilities committee report to the chairman, Mike Baker?
That's correct.
Okay, Mike, you want to come on up? And you know what? I think this you want him to use this, Mike?
The stage is also hot, I believe.
Okay, then everyone can see you. I wish all of you could see his face now. It's called stage fright. On the stage?
10 pounds and there's 3 cameras on you.
You guys can remember to really talk into him.
When your mic's close. Okay, welcome, Michael.
If we're performing on the stage, we expect to get paid.
Have to show your union card.
All right, we have, first of all, I want to thank Steve Nicolai and Tom Ritchie for their hard work that they put in on the town center pool. They worked with the contractors and suppliers very diligently on that and actually jumped in and did some of the physical labor themselves, and they really did a good job on that. We have three other things we want to present to the board. One of them is automatic chemical analyzers on the two pools. The chemical balance in the pool water is very important for the maintenance of the pool itself and the other equipment. Right now, we have two little pumps in there that pump chemicals into the pool, and they're adjusted manually whenever the pool people think they need to be adjusted. Our pool's only tested on a once a day basis, actually not even once a day. And then they adjust those pumps accordingly. The chemical requirements can change hourly or something like that in the pool. It's dependent on the number of bodies in the pool and various other things. And we have little pumps in the pool, in the controls of the pool that pump these chemicals in, but they're adjusted manually now. The pool guy just told Tom yesterday that our pool is the only one that he services that doesn't have automatic analyzers. The spas have automatic analyzers because they're required by the state. The state will soon probably require automatic analyzers on pools as well. Automatic analyzers are just a small thing that go into part of the controls of the pool. They sense the chemicals in the water, and they constantly change and vary the amount of chemicals that's going in the pool. Gives us much better control of the chemicals in the pool. We don't actually have a firm quote on that, but Pool Pros did give us a price of approximately $1,800 per pool to do that, and our facilities committee hardly recommends that be done as soon as possible.
Mike, can I ask a quick question? So that's 1,800 times 2, one for each pool, correct?
Right.
All right, and those are not required by Lee County Health Department yet, but there's a good,
Yes,
okay.
they are required, the backlog is so far, they haven't caught up to everybody. It's now gone into effect. Yeah, it's state department.
Okay, now they are required.
Let me just step in and say, we don't know, I don't know if that $1,800 price is accurate, because that was to refurbish an existing ORP pump. Dan is supposed to get back to us. The quote says refurbish existing ORP.
In our meeting, we asked him specifically about that, adding them to the pools.
Yeah,
And he said that it would be about $1,800.
we just haven't got the written quote from him yet. The one that we did get was to refurbish. We have nothing to refurbish and, and install there. So it should be close to that number. I can't imagine it's too far over $2,000 installed. He's given us sort of a big
With this
discount
rate of
on
time,
it.
I think he said it's gonna be $1,750.
That's great. If he holds it.
Per.
Yeah, $1,750, you need 3 of them. The one in the spa here is working all right.
Okay, back up, let me recap that. So, I know we have one analyzer currently, correct?
We have two spas.
Do we have 2 spa analyzers currently? However, they were not performing, correct?
One of them stopped working and has been repaired because it's necessary.
And the other one?
The other one is still working fine.
Okay, so the good news is we have 2 working required spa analyzers.
Yes,
No investment there.
correct.
Now we need to install 2 new units to the pools, right? At roughly $1,800 each, right? For $3,600.
Yes.
Yay, go on.
You got it. That's about it. And did they rebuild that one for the spa?
It's being rebuilt. We have their loaner in place right
Okay,
now.
so it will be back.
They have backups for us, but. if-
Anyway, we really hardly urge you to do that. One of the reasons the pool ate itself up before was because of the lack of controls of put the chemicals in the pool.
We have to.
All right, we have two other things on HVAC, and Tom Kaler is going to talk about those.
Dave, are you aware that the chlorine?
Speak into the mic, please.
You have to come into the mic.
Dave, are you aware that the chlorine tank over at the Welcome Center is broken?
No.
Thank you, because the guys never told us about that. Yesterday, I met with a guy to ask him, why are you here in the pool at 2:30 in the afternoon when we asked you to be here before 10 o'clock in the morning? Because I've never heard anything about it. So we're talking about the testing and stuff like that goes on. He says, do you know the chlorine holding tank has been broken since December here? Been leaking on the ground. I manually have to dump the chlorine in the pool here now, okay? I said, listen, this is a maintenance that doesn't have no board or anything, it's a little tub. Get a new tub, you should get one put in here.
Well,
talk to somebody.
We'll have pool pros put one in, but no, we weren't aware that anything was broken, especially since we've had the health department here, she checks that.
Yeah.
She said when they break and they need to be replaced, because right now they're in garbage cans.
Right.
Which was standard because they're cheap. We can't put them in garbage cans again. We have to get a proper chemical tank when they need replaced, which I guess is now.
Yes, so just so somebody knows about that.
We'll have it done because we'll have our next pool inspection in the next 2 months or so.
The other thing he said, us being the only one that he services that does not have all this automatic stuff on it, we're wasting so much chemicals and costing so much more that it'd be so much more efficient that this $1,800 per piece will probably pay for itself in a matter of 2 or 3 years.
Okay?
Good point.
Good point. Thank you for all that knowledge. What else do we have? HVAC, you said?
Right. Okay, on the HVAC here. On the HVAC, the big unit out here was installed on 10/11/2018. Since that date, nobody has come back to look at it, to check it, and stuff like this. Carrier sent out a letter on approximately October 30th of 2018 to extend further warranties and maintenance for this unit. This is a very expensive piece of equipment, as we all know, we just replaced it. We want to run it 10 or 15 years, get full lifespan out of it. We have to do maintenance to it. It needs maintenance. This whole building needs maintenance here because nobody's looked at this the last 20 years, or since it's been built here. So, what I've done, or the board has worked on with us here, with B&I who did this, and they're the carrier, warranty, dealer, the people that installed it, we already got the lowest bid from them because they put it in for us. That I don't think this is something that you can go out to bid for and say, hey, give me 3 other people that'll do this. You have to go back to them because they have all the startup set points. When you do a startup on a unit like this, there's about 110 things they have to check out to get set to make it go back, to make it work most efficiently. So you can't really bring another person in to do this. So that's why I'm urging the board to accept their maintenance program here for all the units that we got here, which comes to $35.80 per year. Now, out of this business, I've got a little over 90 people working in my contracting business. We do this all the time. Their price is about half of what I charge, and I'm from New York. Okay, so just keep that in mind. I believe it's a very fair price.
Tom, can I ask you on this proposal for $35.80 annually, is that inclusive of every single unit that we have?
Yes.
That's at the Welcome Center?
Welcome Center.
Town Center?
Yes.
What about the Gatehouse?
Gatehouse.
So we are going to be completely covered annually for every unit we have for $35.80 on a maintenance agreement, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a question, Dan.
You spend that much on a couple of service calls.
That's right.
Yeah, but these aren't warranties, there may still be some parts and so forth required as maintenance. One point I'd like to add, this 35-ton unit out here was installed over a year ago and has never had any maintenance whatsoever done on it. If when you're sitting here, you notice the fans in this room, they cycle every few seconds. That's not right. The unit needs to have maintenance done on it. And this maintenance contract, they'll go through all our split systems quarterly and do a major annual inspection of all of our units and take care of all the maintenance on it. Really needs to be done.
I just have a quick question. If, which I'm sure we will, adopt this, and we haven't had maintenance since 2018 when this was installed, and let's say there's some major issues there. So what part of their agreement covers that opposed to not?
Okay, excellent question. As I started to say, the Welcome Center and this building, nobody's gone up and looked at all the split system air handlers, checked them out, checked the ductwork out and stuff like this. So part of what we're looking for is not a carte blanche. You go into an unknown property here, you don't know what's here. So you've got it while you're there, and you've got a service being there, have them fix it as they go through. If they get to the $3,000 or $5,000, well then we gotta come back to the meeting and come back to the board and find out what's going on here. But things here are really have to be looked at. They've been neglected for a number of years here. So
Tom,
we've got to have a separate thing that this board has to come up with here to give them an allowance to go through and start doing this checkout of both buildings.
Okay, so this would be like a one-time
Yes.
catch-up service, is that right?
Yes.
That is not part of this proposed new maintenance agreement. This is like a starting point.
Yes.
And in your estimation, what would be a fair figure for the board to use as an amount?
I said if you gave them $4,000 to go in and go through a check for both buildings here, I'm almost certain they'd be able to do it for that.
Okay.
Tom, would you be able to like follow up on that, or is there anybody that will follow up to make sure they're doing the things that need to be done and not charging us extra for things?
Yes, if they did it before April 15th. Okay, and I'll tell you this, if need be, if you want to point that to me or something like that, I'd be willing to fly down and spend a couple days down here after they do it, and meet with Rick from B&I here and have him go through everything they found with me and stuff like that here. That's something else you gotta think about.
I'd like to say something, David.
Yes.
Our air conditioners are not ancient. Most of them are brand new, especially the 35-ton is brand new. What kind of a warranty, and because I can vaguely remember reading the information when we put in that 35-ton unit, that it was going to be certain things that they did within the first year. I forget exactly what it says, but what is the warranty on that 35-ton?
I believe it was just a 1-year warranty from the date of installation, and by not doing maintenance when it was installed and having them come back for the checkups, I don't know that we would have any warranty at all.
I hate to be, I'm from Missouri, show me when you say you believe. Do you have that?
There's a copy of a letter here that they sent out after the installation here that seemed, the fellow carrier says, the board, or whoever was in charge here, seemed to ignore. Because this was their offer for extended warranties. We could have had warranties for 1 to 3 to 5, that's in your packet. That's in your packet. That's in your packet.
I haven't seen that, I'm sorry.
No, it's not,
You know what, they don't have the letter,
it's not in here.
Okay.
just the you're presenting.
Go ahead,
While
please.
everyone's reading, people on Facebook are asking for who you are, your last name, I don't know.
I'm Thomas Taylor. I'm on Lot A1. Been here for 5 years.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys
Facebook says
contract
that.
business.
Yeah,
So we do this. Okay.
I'm Mike Baker on B70. I've been here, I forget, 4 or 5 years, and I'm chairman of the facilities.
Well, there's the board's reading. We went, if memory serves me correctly, we went through the Welcome Center with issues about ventilation and so forth a few years back.
And the vents and
Yes,
Yeah,
Yes,
because
we
the,
did.
what was the old conference room,
right.
never
Well-
seemed to work right. And I forget what they did, but they adjusted some stuff. And I don't think it was brought in with outsiders. I think it was somebody here in the park.
Well, let me just say that when the $54,000 unit, which is the 35-ton we're talking about right out here at the our town center, when we invested in that, I'm just shocked that we wouldn't have purchased a maintenance agreement at that time. And you gentlemen have.
I am too, I'm dumbfounded before.
And you gentlemen have verified that there is no, you've talked to B&I and there is no maintenance agreement?
Correct, yeah, we have the same person who oversaw the installation, and he said he was in contact with Tina, and it was never approved.
I can't give you an explanation, but I think we could correct it and get on it immediately. So after these gentlemen do their presentation, the board will make motions to vote on what, okay?
Yeah, because
One more thing.
Yes,
Speak into the mic.
Okay, excuse me, one more thing. There is, for the 35-ton, is a hail guard.
Directly into the mic. We can hear you in the room, but
Okay.
YouTube and no one else can hear you outside of this.
Sorry, okay. With the 35-ton unit, you have a proposal on in front of you for the hail guard. And that is something, it would normally be put on a unit, but because the bid didn't include it, for some reason, everybody's going for the low bid, they left this unit out. And it should definitely be added to the unit, and BMI is giving us a very fair price of putting it on the unit. If the hail or wind or tree, we get a hurricane, and we blow limbs into this condensing unit out here, the coils, we have, $5,000 or $10,000, $15,000 problem here. So, this is a very small item to please have them add on to this unit here.
all righty. Mike,
Other
you,
than that, thank you, Frank.
Mike, you have anything? Okay.
An explanation, the guard would be on this end of that unit that's facing the building. It looks like, if you look at it, it looks like the radiator in the car, and that's exactly what it is. Made of aluminum, very susceptible to damage, and this guard would protect that.
Right, that's what he's talking about, is directly outside of the kitchen door, so people carry things in and out of this building, throwing trash away, they're right next to it, so.
All righty. Well, first,
You're welcome. Anybody next time they go to the dumpster, just look around the end of the unit and you can see the neglect that's been left to this unit here where it needs service and maintenance.
okay. Well, I think I can speak on behalf of the board and the entire community that we have such talent in this organization. And what these two gentlemen and their committee is bringing to you, the community residents, is an amazing service. They're committing themselves to a lot of time. And the board, we put our trust in your expertise. So what I'd like to do now is just go ahead and address item by item here. Let's go ahead and talk about the required 2 analyzers, one for Welcome Center Pool, one for Town Center Pool, at a combined total estimate of $3,600. Can we get a motion?
David, was that, you had questioned whether that was an accurate estimate?
Dan told us in person, Dan from Pool Pros, told us that in our facilities meeting. So we thought that was an accurate estimate, and it may be, but he did send us a quote for the repair that we had to do at the spa, and it was the same price for a refurbished unit. So and not to install a refurbished one, but to refurbish ours.
Right.
So we don't have those cores to refurbish and install at the other pool. So I do think that his price may not be quite accurate, but hopefully we can hold him to it. I just don't know that he'll go forward. If it costs him more than $1,800, he's just going to say, sorry, I gave you a bad price and we're not going to do it. So I don't know the answer. I tried to get in touch with him this morning, couldn't get a hold of him, so. It may be accurate, but we might be looking at maybe $2,200 tops, I think. That's what we can buy them for.
Okay.
Okay, so again, I'm going to call for a motion to approve roughly $3,600 to install required pool analyzers on both Welcome Center and Town Center.
So moved.
I need a second.
Second.
All those
Second.
in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
What was that?
Okay, Dwayne and John, are you opposing? No, let me ask you your vote. Dwayne and John.
Voting aye.
Dwayne and John, are you?
Aye.
Thank you.
This is Dwayne, voting aye. It's just we're kind of late. It's hard to get in. A word edgewise between the speakerphone. So yeah, I'm voting aye.
Okay, it's unanimous.
Group.
David, if you'll go ahead and get those ordered then. Now, we're gonna take a vote now on an annual maintenance agreement for our HVAC units, every unit that we have at the Welcome Center, the Town Center, and in the Gatehouse. And the annual maintenance agreement amount is being proposed by B&I of $3,580. May I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Okay, gentlemen, on the phone, if you'll delay your response just a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Joe and Dwayne, I mean, not Joe, sorry, Dwayne and John?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion has passed. We will get that maintenance agreement going. The third vote, we have been, it's been suggested by the Facilities Committee that we need what we would consider a baseline or startup inspection on our 35-ton unit. Estimate on that would be around $4,000. We're going to need a little bit of a pre-approval for that, no?
I don't think you have it. I think they were talking about an inspection of everything.
Oh, I thought it was just the one unit. Was it everything?
I think everything.
Oh,
Everything
excellent,
is-
thank you, Tom.
Yeah.
Let me correct that. Board, we also need some fund approval on inspections as a baseline before we start our maintenance agreement for every AC unit at all 3 locations, and I do need a motion on that.
I'll make a motion that we take these.
Okay.
At $4,000.
Second?
Second.
Okay. And John and Dwayne, hold your response. All those in favor?
Aye.
John and Dwayne?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved, and so you will order that, or David will order it, or, okay, gotcha. Okay, last vote. It has been recommended by the Facilities Committee to extend the life of our coil system on the 35-ton unit,
So moved. Second.
and second. Again, present board members, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
John and Dwayne?
Aye.
Aye.
We have our 2020 Cypress Woods project list. So I have just added to that under some new categories, center for 4,000. And we will cash and we'll check, we'll re-verify our cash position after this meeting, okay? As long as these gentlemen are talking about pools, what I wanted to share with the board and the community is that Sunday, I had the privilege of visiting with one of our longtime owners, Mr. Gene Kosick. Gene Kosick is literally such an authority on pools. For over 50 years, he has designed and maintained pools and pool equipment. He knows the chemical, he knows the chemical field requirements for everything. I'd call him a master chemist even. But anyway, it's great that we're gonna have these analyzers on all 4 water bodies, but the problem is, we still need, sorry, we still need to have manual checks throughout the day. We need morning, noon, and evening. It's required by the county to have readings frequently throughout the day. Well, we'll talk about it. But anyway, he has offered all of his services free of charge to Cossack is providing for us to get readings frequently through the day, posted, and Chris trained as B. So I'm just letting the community know and all of the board know that this is a good opportunity for us to elevate, to extend the life of our chemicals, okay, to have readings. So that being said, what's on the agenda next?
Can I make one comment,
Please,
please?
yeah.
If Pool Pros is not doing what we're paying them, so I think we need to get on top of that.
Yeah. You know, I hate to say this, but Mr. Cossack, he is licensed in Illinois and in Florida, and he has found that a good number of pool companies in Florida just really hands then that we train our staff that we can meet these Lee County Health Department requirements. So with that being said, let's move on. So Dave will work on that, okay? Alrighty, what do we got next? Pat, would you go ahead and comment on the e-development report?
Well, so far, I think Dwayne's moving along. I do want to thank Dwayne. Dwayne's done an awful lot. I'm going to jump down on the water. He's done an awful lot as far as our water quality or quantity. Their engineers have looked at the backflow preventer. They've contacted Lee County. Lee County said it's our problem, so they're investigating further to see whether that is the issue. But he's really saving us a lot of time and energy. I don't know what else he's got going on. Dwayne, do you have anything to report on these so far?
Well, the water issue, I think, we're headed towards some kind of a fix on that, as you indicated. It probably will entail some sort of an upgrade to the backflow preventer to make it larger. We don't know if that's the total fix. It may also be that Lee County Utilities simply isn't providing enough pressure, and we're going to explore that with LCU and if they need to do something to boost their pressure, I mean, that may be part of the mix as well. So we'll keep y'all advised as we go. The biggest question we have right now is, same question everybody else in the world is dealing with. How does coronavirus affect our project? Right now we have a zoning application that's in with the county. We got initial comments back from the county earlier this week. And they were, for the most part, pretty minor pickings. So we don't really see any big problem there. However, it requires public hearings. Public hearings, who knows how that's all going to work out. So, it's possibility that we could get, delayed on our zoning approval. So we'll just have to play it by ear and see how that goes. Hopefully not too much of a delay, but it's sort of a combination in the county's hands and God's hands and who knows who else's hands. We'll just have to see how it goes.
Dwayne, while you're on the phone, do you have any update on the heavy equipment access to Cypress Woods when you are going through the building stage, construction stage?
Yeah, well, we had a development this week, and that there is a property owner who owns the property that essentially connects Angus Lane to the FPL easement inside the Cypress Woods property, and it's a vacant property. He doesn't have any structures or anything on it, but apparently he runs some cows, and he said he was unwilling to allow us to run construction equipment through there, regardless of anything that we offered to do to minimize the impacts. So we looked at a couple other potentials. One is to cut a new road, or basically clear a pathway along the existing Luckett Road right-of-way, where east of where the road stops now. But that's not, in the cards because there's a big cypress head there. And, Lord knows how long it could take to do any kind of permitting on that, and it may not even be feasible to do it at all. So that leaves us looking at sort of a plan C, which would probably entail running our construction traffic through the resort. And, we're just starting a dialogue now with the HOA to figure out what would be the least impactful route. And, we'll just have to see what we can come up with on that.
Thank you for that update, and I know that you're doing the best you can to make this as comfortable on everyone, and we just really appreciate what you and your partners are doing right now. And thank you for especially the water flow issue and your engineers getting involved. So again, a real kudos to join a powerful relationship with this developer and our community.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you.
Absolutely. Pat, do you have anything to say before we go on to the fertilizer and pest control proposal? Some things that you wanted to talk about on some situations going on in the resort right now? Can I preference it a little bit? Okay. When this board formed February 2nd of this year, this new board formed February 2nd of this year, we made a pledge to this community. And that pledge was that if you are confronted with hearsay or rumors, that this board is committed to, following it back, going to the source, and trying to clarify accurate information. It's imperative that we still extend to you that we are an open board, open management, that we definitely want to put your concerns at ease should you hear things. So our commitment to you is to clarify, unify, and communicate. And with that being said, Mr. Zolo.
Okay, there's been some confusion and misinformation in the community as regard to whether a lot owner can pull a permit to do his own plumbing or be his own general contractor. So I had contacted Roger Warren, who is the Lee County Plumbing Inspector, and specifically asked him that does a person have to be a Florida resident in order to, or just a property owner to pull a permit to do work on their own property? And his answer was, you can pull a permit, do your own work, or be a general contractor on your own lot, just as they told us at the general meeting we had with code enforcement, unless you rent the property out, then you need to get a general contractor. There was also about 5 owners, and I know they also gave us a list of options you can do, which one is you can do the work or have the work done and then have the county come out and inspect it, but that requires exposing everything in the walls, tearing out the drywall or whatever you might have. The other option is you get a design engineer, and the design engineer tells you, okay, this is what I need you to do. So we had 5 owners contact the design engineer that the county recommended, who's done some work in here. He recommended, okay, you get a plumber. The plumber comes out, sees what you need to bring your shed up to code. He also has to do a televising of your sewer line, and then pictures and all that stuff go to the engineer, and then the engineer certifies it and takes responsibility, and you get your permit or your permit signed off on. The people that had contacted this guy got the plumber that he recommended. They did all the work, and And then for some reason, the engineer pulled out. He's not returned their phone calls, he's not done anything. I do understand he was in the park yesterday with somebody giving somebody else a quote. But you can pull your own permit, and we're trying to find another, in fact, I'm waiting for this, Tad, Delnay, who is the chief building inspector. He's on vacation, so when he gets back, we're gonna see if he can give us the name of another design engineer to try and get in there. As soon as we get that, we'll get the information out to people. But I know, of an owner right up here in D, pulled his permit yesterday, and the plumber went out there. I don't know what he determined he needed, but they got his own permit, it's not a Florida resident. Just so you know, you do not need to get a general contract, you don't want to.
Diane, you have a comment. Can I ask if it's regarding this subject? Okay. I'm going to wrap this up by saying that, have you ever forgot what you were going to say? Okay, let's clarify the full-time, part-time resident, because I'm not sure we brought that out well enough, okay? Can you explain that?
Okay, I'll use myself as an example. My state of residence is Pennsylvania. I own lot D128. As the owner of lot D128, I can pull my own permit, whether my state of residency is Florida or not. Okay?
Yeah, so whether you're a full-time or part-time owner here, it doesn't make one bit of difference. Anybody can pull a permit, okay?
Full-time or part-time?
Full-time or part-time, doesn't matter. And this is what I wanted to say before. This issue was brought before this community about 18 months ago. And at that time, we invited 3 members of Lee County Code, Permitting, and Engineering Department out here to a large town hall meeting that over 300 people attended. They are supporting this community. They are making it as easy as possible on this community. They are cooperating. They've responded to every request, every inquiry we have made. We have relentlessly pursued this information for 18 months as they directed. In December of 2018, this board sat with those same 3 Lee County officials and verified all the information they had originally given us was still in place, and it is. And they reassured us that they are giving us special care. And we have stayed connected with them, and as we get information that we feel has been verified and is consistent between the departments of Lee County, we have chosen not to communicate partial information, that we want to make sure we get you always full, complete information, and we will continue to do so.
Deb, you said December of 18, you mean 19?
It was December of 19, so it was only 3-4 months ago. But we've had many phone conversations since then as well. So with that, I hope there's some clarity here now of any concerns that you might have heard in the last few weeks through the rumor mill. Now, Diane, you have a Facebook question, okay?
It's from Sue Dinser, it was about the pool.
You're gonna have to get on a mic.
No.
You're okay? Good.
Regarding the CPO.
Yes.
She says, great opportunity and suggestion, Deb Davis. I would suggest more than one person be trained 7 days a week, 3 times a day is a lot to ask of one person. Other owner volunteers, and I would like the full company to be held much more accountable with records kept in the Welcome Center office. Sue Dinser is one of the chairs of the water aerobics team.
Excellent. duly noted, and I'm sure that's a path that David will be taking on that as well. And as a community, we'll have to look how we can engineer that to work in the schedules. But I think the first thing we have to think of as a board, that we have to protect the health of this community, and that means maintaining proper chemical levels. I think the analyzer is going to be a huge help, but I also feel that we're going to have to get into the manual, part two, and we'll get it worked out. And once we get it worked out, we'll let the community know how we're going to be able to move forward with this. And tell her thank you, right? Okay. Okay. We are going to have two dynamic people come up here, Mr. Bob Lukes and Mr. John McCormick.
Hey, Deb.
John Genovese, yes.
Yes, I'd just like to make a comment on the process that Pat just laid out,
Yes.
if that's okay.
Please.
And this is more on a personal level than on a board level, but I experienced getting my shed done.
Yes.
And what Pat laid out very, very much represents what I went through when I did mine back in the very beginning of all this. And for those that think, oh my God, exposing the walls, that's such a big thing. Let me assure you that I literally did the work myself, pulled the drywall off, took, 30 minutes, 40 minutes to get the drywall off, put up new drywall, did not take that long, nail it up, spackle it, paint it, you wouldn't even know it was done. For anybody that has a little bit of skill, don't let that scare you off. That's not that big of a deal if you have to go through it.
Those are good words of encouragement to a lot of owners, so I thank you for that. Again, I want to introduce now to the community here. We have Mr. John McCormick, raise your hand, and Mr. Bob Lukes, raise your hand. And these have been long-term owners, but they also have particular areas of expertise. They have created a two-team task force with David, our property manager, to reevaluate the current fertilization and pest control contract that we've had almost from day one, I think, with Newell. Am I right on that, Barb?
Sort of, kind of, no.
Yeah.
We've had Arrow, or we've had other
Okay.
companies.
Thank you on that. But they've done beaucoup hours of work and research, and I think the community will be very encouraged what they have to present and propose today. So, gentlemen, you have the microphone. Please put the microphone literally like a half an inch from your mouth.
Good morning.
Morning.
John McCormick, Lot B41. I've been here for 20 years now in the park. As you remember, we came last board meeting and addressed the fertilization program that we presently have under the contract of Newell. And in our estimation, what we're receiving and what we have are two different scenarios, and that's not for the betterment of the community. So we spoke about getting 3 additional bids, or a total of 3 bids for that program, which we have, and I believe you have in front of you, one being from LaRue Pest Management Inc., Newell Lawn Care, and Arrow.
I don't believe Newell's is in your package.
It's not.
That's our current contract.
That's our current rate, which we just received from them at the beginning of the year.
And that's annually, with Newell proposal was what, 96?
Their total was $96.50
Okay.
per year. LaRue's was $9,600 even, and Arrow's is $17,400. If we do the breakdown on what they're doing versus what the young gentleman proposed to do, you'll see a pretty vast differential between the two. We have basically broken down the fertilization program into 3 different sections. We have a high priority area, which is primarily the grass in all the common areas. Well, I shouldn't say all the common areas that relate to front entrance up to the town center and the 3 main cul-de-sacs.
And the walking.
And the welcome center and the cul-de-sacs in the development. That's one section. Then we have another section for the palm trees, quarterly treatments on those, and we have another section on the shrubs, which encompass both of the buildings, and 3 different separate numbers for them. Now, we spent quite a bit of time talking to Kyle, their representative from Newell. Look at each area. Kyle has addressed the problems, the present problems we have with both the shrubs, the palm trees, and the grass areas, and you'll see that in that report they gave to us. Some of the areas are so dire that we're probably going to lose some of our palm trees if we don't immediately take charge and get a treatment system to bring them back. And I think everybody in the park knows the value and the expense of removing a palm tree and reinstalling a palm tree. And so it certainly would behoove us to immediately get on this program. Our advice to the board is to accept Arrow's proposal, but with limitations. If you read the proposal that they sent, the largest expense is the grasslands in the park, and there are areas that are so depleted that fertilization isn't going to do anything for those areas at all. The areas need to be completely killed off, retilled, and reseeded. I'm going to let Bob Luce address that issue in just a second here on how that would be done, but I want the board to understand that with the 17.4 that's been proposed, we're not really going to be paying them 17.4 immediately. We're going to sit down, or go over, I should say, with Kyle one more time, all the areas that are so desperately damaged that need to be completely recultivated and reseeded. That will come out of the original bid, but once we have figured out how to rejuvenate those areas, then the fertilization program will begin on those new areas once that's done. So we're also here kind of under a twofold scenario where, yes, we're going to have a new fertilization program for these common areas in the park, but we also have to come up with some additional funding to do the rejuvenation of these areas that are so profoundly diseased, if you will. So we come here now addressing a 17.4 bid, looking for, when we complete with Kyle the actual number of, or area that we're going to be fertilizing on the grass, and yet an unknown number on what it's going to cost to rejuvenate the bad areas, which Bob and I are still presently working on, and we'll get back to you at a later date. So Bob, if you want to address the procedure of the grass.
So I think the first point that needs to be made, what brings us here today with the problems that we're having, is the value. In our own personal lives, when we're buying something, we look at value. Cheapest is not always the best value. In a lot of cases, cheapest can become more expensive. And at this point, we feel that that's where we are today with our grounds in Cypress Woods. So what is the reason for that? Most of the time since I've been here for 15 years, most of that time we've had our current contractor. And I think the biggest problem as it relates to fertilization, pest control, and weed control is that the current contractor is not qualified. So you're getting what you're paying for. when I seen the numbers, what we're paying Newell, I thought that seemed, as I call it, because we have competitors at home in our business, I call it stupid cheap. And he can't do a good job for that price. But even if he charged a higher price, I don't believe that his crews are qualified. We feel that Arrow's crews are qualified. We hope we're right in that, we think we are. So, as it relates to the plants themselves, there are a number of plants that we're not going to be able to save, but the good news is the majority of the plants, that being the trees, the shrubs, those type of plantings are salvageable. The grass, I don't even call it grass. It's terrible.
It's not.
One of the areas that we initially looked at renovating is the areas along Cypress Woods Drive. Let's make that look good, so as you're driving in, first impressions. We don't know what direction we want to go yet. The recommendation by Arrow is to totally till the area up and plant Bermuda grass. I personally don't like Bermuda grass, but his point was Bermuda grass has a high tolerance to drought. With that said, Bermuda grass, as I know it, and I'm not an expert on Bermuda grass, we want our grounds to look good while we're here. They do look good in the summer because we were getting the frequent rains. Our irrigation system is subpar at best for a number of reasons. Kyle is of the opinion that if we are to plug those areas with St. Augustine, as I've done at my own lot, that we probably don't have enough water to sustain that grass during dry season. I have a couple of ideas as it relates to managing the irrigation system that may or may not work. We need to talk about that a little bit. But I would just say that I think with proper water management, if we're not in a total drought situation, I think that there would be enough irrigation to sustain those areas of St. Augustine as you drive in along Cypress Woods Drive. I would reference my own lot, what the St. Augustine looks like over there. There are areas of poor soil that right now are starting to look dry, but there's some great issues that are causing that along with poor soil. The other areas are beautiful, but I'm taking care of it as it should be. I believe that Arrow would also. So, with that said, that area is off the table for the initial work to be done. I think at this point right now, we just need to go after our plants and our trees and take care of the grass areas that we're going to be able to bring back. That being at the Welcome Center, being at the circle here by the town center, a couple of other small areas that we can bring back, get them up to where they're supposed to be, so that they aesthetically they're what we like.
Bob, have you added the fire pit area to that in this bid?
No, because that needs total renovation. One of the things that need to be talked about for that area is what type of grass is actually going to survive in that area given the amount of shade that's there. We really don't want to get rid of the shade simply because you go out there on a hot day. It's nice to have the shade, but the negative is there's not a lot of grasses that will survive with that amount of shade. So I thought about that for years, what could be done, and I have not come up with an answer. I don't know what to do with it. It's a problem area. The only thing that maybe could be done is to trim back the trees some to get some more sunlight in there. Most grasses in Minnesota and here in Florida need a minimum of 60% of the day sunlight. And I would say there's areas that get no sunlight. around the fire pit area. So I don't know what the answer is to that. I'm gonna do some more homework on it, do my own research, talk to some different people what their suggestions might be, and talk to Kyle about that too, because there's really not an easy answer if you want to maintain that amount of shade.
What I'd like to do is open it up to the board now. I'm sure everyone has some questions. So Barb?
I thank you. I don't actually have a question, but when we're talking about, especially around the fire pit in that area, under the live oak trees, my parents had live oak trees in their Florida place, and as long as they kept the leaves all raked up and it didn't turn to mold under there, grass could grow. So finally, we have Newell coming and breaking that area, and if you look, we have some grass starting to grow. So that's one of the things too that I'm sure would benefit out there, is to take care of the yard.
I would suggest, or I would argue, Barb, that what you're seeing growing there is probably not grass.
As with all the other common area, and you're right.
I would
It's
say
just green.
Yeah, it's weeds, yeah, it's green and it's foliage, but it's not grass. So my point is, if you're gonna be congregating in that area, having events and so forth there, you want to have at least a reasonable amount of grass there. It doesn't have to be perfect by any means, because it's going to get trampled down by traffic, but you still want some grass in that area.
I guess what I meant is the weeds finally grow there.
Yeah.
We do have a Facebook question. Can we take that, and then the board could ask your other questions? This is from owner Pam and Ernie Moran. Does your program, our Arrows program, include fertilization around the two lake areas?
Currently, no.
Okay.
And the reason being, so many of those areas need renovation, and we have to, you know, if money was no object, it would certainly be included, and we'd be out there, we'd have contractors in there, and we'd be renovating it and doing everything that needs to be done. But like anybody's budget, cost is definitely a consideration. So this is going to be several steps to get ourselves to where we would like to be. It's not going to be one sweep and everything is perfect. It's not going to be that. And again, I go back to the value for what we're getting. We're confident, and I hope this don't come back and bite us, but we're confident that Arrow is very qualified to get us to where we want to be. I mean, at the last board meeting, Kyle, just being here in itself said a lot for him, and he answered a lot of questions that we had and conveyed them to you at the last meeting, and he's been good to work with. He seems to be very knowledgeable, and just the fact that we can save a lot of the plants that are currently sick, it just says a lot.
Okay.
Got a question.
Okay, I think Gary.
Bob, you mentioned both St. Augustine and Bermuda grass. Which one are you recommending?
I'm not recommending either one right now. I personally would rather go the route of St. Augustine because of its appearance. But whether or not St. Augustine is feasible to plant in those areas still remains to be seen. We're having that discussion. Kyle, again, is recommending the Bermuda grass. I value what Kyle is telling us, but from a personal standpoint, aesthetically, I don't like Bermuda grass. I like the way, again, go drive by my place. What do you like?
Have you had the opportunity to visit any other communities and check to see what the majority of them might be using?
Well, I think that the majority of them are using the St. Augustine. But we're kind of a unique situation here in that our lovely developer did a really poor job in installing our irrigation system, and we're not covering areas as we should.
Okay.
Go ahead, Bart.
Yeah, Bob, you know, I believe I heard you all say that, you feel confident in Arrow. Have you, gotten information from them about some properties that they currently do this sort of thing in for us to look at, or have you had a chance to look at any of them?
We haven't really visited any of the properties that they're currently taking care of. John, did we ever get a list from them on that? We had asked for that.
Pictures, we've been given pictures of their properties, by way of the computer. So we've seen several properties that they control and handle as we speak. I'd like to make a mention also for the public that, because you don't have this bid in your hand, the total square footage that they would be treating as far as the turf is concerned is 109,000 feet. Square feet, right. So that's the bulk of the bid at $13,600. Once all that ground is brought up to snuff. The rest of the other two items on the bid is $3,600 for the palms and $3,000 for the shrubs. So again, the bulk of this bid is in the turf.
Is that 3,600 and 3,000 for the annual fee, John?
Yes, that's annually.
And how far up is that coming from the entrance?
I'm sorry?
How far is that coming up from the entrance? You said you're not doing the whole park, right? Correct?
Well, there's sections through the park that can be done, can be done. The main entrance presently is not bad. The turf around the welcome center is fair. We know the circle out here is fair. They could be rejuvenated, but areas along the roadway, cul-de-sac B, primarily that there is no grass there per se. The turf on D section cul-de-sac is good. That could be brought back up.
That's the one up at Casada, isn't it?
That's correct. Yeah.
What did he say?
The area that John is referring to is the area that was renovated and fixed up a number of years ago by the group. What is it called? What's the name of the?
Oh, Bob Casada's group?
Where Bob Casada, Frank,
lives.
Yeah, that area is right now. It's in need of care. It's looking pretty rough.
That's a surfwood.
Surfwood court. But it's at a point where it can be renovated and brought up to par. That is one of the cul-de-sacs that we're talking about having them take care of initially. Then the one where I am in D section where the gazebo is, and then also the plantings in B by where John is.
I have a question, Bob. You were talking about our illustrious irrigation system. These areas, if we're investing in trying to bring them back, what has to be done to that to bring it up? Because if you look at our lakes, we're getting low.
I know. That's a really good question, Joe. Go ahead.
And it happens every year, guys.
Our
Yeah.
program is not a scenario where we're just going to pull this overnight.
Closer.
We are going to be addressing the irrigation system at the same time. So those areas that have dead grass in them, that is not getting the proper amount of irrigation, will be addressed, added to, whatever we need to do to make that happen. It's going to be pointless for us to recultivate this property, reseed it, and know that it's going to fail because the irrigation is not working or is under par. So again, as I say to you, when we come to you with this program, we want to initially get Arrow in here to get going on the palms and the shrubs and those grass areas so we don't lose them. But in the meantime, Bob and I, not tonight or tomorrow night or next year, we're going to be working on this until we get everything the way it should be. We can't sit here right now and tell you that we've got bid numbers on everything, because we haven't had enough time to put all that together yet, but we will continue on this process until we do get it, come to you, let you know what the expenses are, and hopefully we can straighten this mess out.
So I do have a Facebook comment here. I believe this is again from owner Pam and Ernie Moran. There are 4 cul-de-sacs, which I think there's more than that, and they are saying that you mentioned 3. Not doing the lake common areas seem unfair. Can I comment on that? Can I comment on that?
Did you say the lake commons areas?
Mm-hmm. What I'd like to comment on is that they've established high priority areas that the majority of the owners will benefit from. That doesn't mean that these areas somewhere down the road would not be treated. It's just saying we have to start prioritizing things at this time. Am I correct?
You're exactly right, Deb, and I understand what they're saying, and I sympathize with them. I would be asking the same question if I was in their shoes, because the area where they are, the grass is not grass. So I guess probably the best answer would be that, as John just said, this is not an overnight thing. This is the beginning of hopefully bringing the park up to par. It's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of money. If we were going to stand here today and say, you know, we can bring the whole park up to par in one big swoop. We're going to bring the contractors in and we're going to get everything up to par. And then we were to say the cost, I think that we'd have to call in the paramedics because we'd all have heart failure when we heard the price. So it needs to be in a step-by-step process. We're not trying to say that some areas are more important than other areas. Okay, so I just said that we're not saying that some areas are more important than other areas, but with that said, there are areas that are more important than other areas. And what I mean by that is the areas that are currently at a point where we can bring them up to par, we need to do that before we go into the next phase of renovation. For us to start a project and not have the infrastructure or the money to maintain those areas that we've brought up to par would be like a dog chasing his tail. So we have to start somewhere, and the best place to start is to maintain the areas that have the potential to be brought back up to par. So
okay,
that's my answer, and I understand what they're saying. So
real quick, the areas around the lake between the lots and the water are not included in our current contract, and they weren't in the previous contract.
Thank you. Very good observation. But just to wrap this portion up and bring it together, I think what I hear you saying is that you gentlemen who are experts are recommending that this board consider Aero Environmental Services to assume the improvement and ongoing care of our identified common areas for not only fertilization but pest control in the amount of $17,400, which is an increase of $6,800 over what we're currently paying. So looking at a budget perspective, we would be adding $6,800 in additional expenses for the improvement and development of our lawn care, pest, and fertilization program, correct?
Deb, if I can comment on that. So I run a business, and sometimes you rob one budget to supplement another budget. So looking at it from the standpoint of what's actually budgeted for this scope of work, I think in the budget, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't there some money budgeted in for, we'll just call it landscape projects?
There is.
Okay, so I personally, initially my first thought when we were asked to do this was I would consider this to be a landscape project. So with that said, so if we have in our maintenance budget for landscaping X amount, but there's money in the project budget that would be foolish to spend, why would we wanna add trees, add plants, or whatever the case would be, if we don't have our maintenance in line? We have to get our house in order before we start doing anything additionally. So my suggestion would be, let's rob some money out of that landscape project budget, add it to this, and there's still some money left over. That's just my side of it.
Bob, let me answer this. You're talking about they're working on a specified area. We're paying Newell to do all the area. So wouldn't we be reducing what Newell's doing and therefore have cost savings there? And they're only gonna be doing part of the project, or are we gonna let them do everything? Is that what we're trying to do?
You're the board member, not me.
Joe, I'm
No,
sorry.
I'm kidding you, Joe. Yes, I guess that's right, but also I would add to that maybe what they're doing, we're not seeing any value.
No, I understand that, but I guess my question, let me make it a little simpler. Are you suggesting that we take the pest control and fertilization of the common area away from Newell?
Yes.
Period.
Absolutely.
And then take the full contract from Arrow, even though there's some areas that
Crossover?
it's kind of a waste.
Well, it most certainly is a waste, and that's the whole point, is that we're throwing good money after bad. If we're doing fertilization on commons areas that do not have grass,
That's grass cutting.
that's a waste of money.
Into fertilization.
Pull that out of it,
And there-
heck, you might come up with, you won't even need to touch the landscape budget, put it that way.
Well, I guess my question is where you have areas that don't,
Joe, what I was trying to say
Plants and
earlier is,
landscaping is
we're starting off with the
15.
17 for
No,
budget
15.
number, but we're not gonna be billed at 17 for,
15.
because we're going to
15.
exclude those bad areas. See,
Okay.
the 17-4 establishes everything, all the areas that we originally spoke of. We're gonna be taking those areas back for rejuvenation.
No, it
His
expired.
number is gonna be reduced by the
Fertilization
square
when
footage of that
expired.
area we have to rejuvenate.
okay, so if I understand this then, the areas that you think are salvageable, you're proceeding with.
That's correct.
The areas that need to be rejuvenated will be just left alone, period,
Until we get to.
until you get into the rejuvenation.
His number will be reduced by that square footage.
Now, this goes back to Bob's, I guess, expertise maybe. While we're waiting to do the rejuvenation, should the pest control still be applied to those areas?
I think without question. I mean,
So it's
you
not a
know,
total-
go out into a commons area and, well, again, that just goes back to a qualified contractor. I mean, I've been taking care of the plants in my cul-de-sac, and back in, I don't know what the date was anymore, but early in the season, I'm out there fertilizing and doing work, and Newell had supposedly sprayed for fire ants, and I was using a lot of WD-40 on my legs, if you know what I mean. I was bit up something terrible. And so then I put in a service request for David to have them sprayed again. They came back again. I was out there cutting my grass out there, and there's fire ants everywhere. Before I leave next week, I'm gonna be out there fertilizing plants again, pruning back some stuff. And I was walking out there just the other day, and there's fire ants everywhere. My point is, we're not getting a value. We're spending money foolishly. You might as well take the money and throw it in the wind, because that's.
No, I understand what you're saying there. My question is of the Arrow quote. Some areas you're gonna go 100% with, but the areas that you're not, because they're beyond help at this point, but still the pest control, should that not happen on all the common areas regardless?
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
right.
By Arrow, is that correct, guys?
Pardon me?
By arrow?
by arrow.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's what,
good point.
Bob,
Go ahead, Gary.
you mentioned the irrigation system. Does that mean that it has to be physically changed or just times of day and that type of thing? The grass isn't gonna grow without water.
That's exactly right. So when I talk about water management, let's just say, use for an example, if we're gonna do some renovation coming up Cypress Woods Drive. Whatever we decide to plant in there is gonna require more water than we're currently giving. But at this time, as I understand, we've actually overused our amount of water that's allocated to the park. So back to what Joe and I were just talking about. So pest control in the commons areas, yes. Could we supplement the water from some of those areas that need to be renovated? Could we use some of that water to give the additional water to the areas that we're renovating? And once that grass is established, properly taken care of, proper fertilizer and so forth, you're gonna develop a more dense and deep root system in that grass. So the required water requirements are gonna be less in those areas that are now established. So now, if you get a program together and you get things in sequence and you get the timing and the water management figured out, and once that initial area is fully established, now you can maybe start backing off on some of that water, using it for the next area that you're gonna be rejuvenating. Now, with that said, is that still gonna be enough water? Do we need to do something else with the irrigation system? We could do whatever we think is necessary to the irrigation system, but you still need water to feed that irrigation system. So I don't know the answer to that. Again, I feel that we're wasting our irrigation water because we are watering areas that are just not worth watering.
I can see the management part of it, but how much of a cost is it gonna be if we have to physically change a number of areas? I mean, we don't know that, do we? So if we lock ourselves into this contract, we're gonna have to make a change to keep that water wet, whether it be physical or management wise.
I don't think it's possible to make big changes to the irrigation system because those changes are gonna require more water, which we don't have. So again, it becomes a matter of management. Once those areas are established, where the plant is healthy enough, the healthier that plant, the more root system that's there, the more tolerance it's gonna have to drought. And that's the point.
Excuse me. Unless I'm misunderstanding, the scenario that you just discussed would entail deciding, if we choose to do that, would entail deciding which areas are just weeds anyway in common areas and don't water them and send the water to the new. Is that what you're suggesting?
No, because even if you take it as dry as things are right now, even those areas where there's a lot of weeds, they're gonna start to look even worse. And, this is all about quality of life here. And,
Correct.
even though it's weeds there, well, if the weeds are green, it at least looks better than brown weeds. So with that said, what I'm saying is that, when you rejuvenate an area, when you're trying to establish it, your water requirements are higher in those areas. So, let's say the irrigation system, let's say each zone runs 15 minutes. Well, if you take several zones that that don't need as much water because it's weeds, you take 5 minutes off of this one and 5 minutes off of this one, and I don't know how many zones are in here, but you can come up with quite a bit of time necessary to establish the areas. That's my point. It just will come down to water management. Now, I'm saying that, and maybe it's easier said than done. I don't know how hard it is to reprogram that irrigation system.
So that's actually my biggest summer project that I have is going through the whole system with Chris and trying to identify the areas that need more and less water. It's a big project, we'll have to go to every lot together, check the heads, make sure that things aren't being wasted. You know, owners concreted the whole lot and they left heads that are just watering their concrete down. We know that probably happens in some places. So it's not a complex system, but it's, because of its lack of complexity, it does require just a lot of man hours to go through and physically make changes to a spreadsheet with 500 zones on it. You know, a zone, we'll just say A, B, C, D, whatever they are, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way through 500. You have to manually set times and times that they run, as far as duration, not time of day, but we also want to tweak the time of day for some of these things too, like the town center, we had to put on manual timers. So this has been Chris and I's sort of big discussion for a while now. We were trying to fix this building so the irrigation didn't run during events, which we've done with some manual timers. And that also may be the solution for some of these other common areas. But that's my big summer project, and I guess we'll work with whatever company is, whether it's Newell or Arrow or whoever, to see what their water needs are, and then we'll try to figure out where we can take it from safely. Because you're correct, we do use over a 2 million gallon a month limit that the county gave us for the wells. And we've used it for years, and they allow it. We're barely over, and it's not every month, but we do run over occasionally. So we don't have that space to just increase everything or even certain areas without reducing somewhere else.
And David, kudos to you and Chris for being proactive on that. And I think that's really good news to the board too, that that's a focus of your summer projects. We do have another inquiry from Facebook. Again, this is Pam and Ernie Moran. They personally seed and fertilize their lot themselves. Our grass looks great. It is probably something that could be done by our park, not by a vendor. I'll answer that. None of our staff is licensed to apply fertilization or pest control, so it does have to be a contracted vendor. She also has a question on fountains, which I'm not going to answer in this section because we'll lightly cover that in just a second. Barb, you have another question, and we'll wrap this up?
I do, John and Bob. Have you guys given thought to, once you put this in place, to perhaps the main focus be during the wet months or summer months? I know you're not here, neither am I, but have you guys thought about that? Because we definitely do have more water then than we do now.
I don't know if I understand the question completely, Bart.
Well, you know, when is your plan to start once you know exactly what you're going to do? And have you given any thought to having it work or start in the summertime when we do have
rainy
more water,
season?
the rainy season.
Go ahead.
We're gonna have the same technician from Arrow each month. You know how often it happens in this park where you hire someone, next thing you know, you got somebody else who's doing the same job, and the next thing, this technician is gonna be the same person each time. With that being said, he's gonna be doing the individual inspections on all of these items that they'll be addressing. So whether there's too much water or not enough water, that will be his decision at the time on what needs to be done, because they're taking on our plantings as if they were their own. That's the impression and implication that we got from the Kyle from Arrow, and that's why we were so impressed with his presentation to us, that this was going to be their backyard, and they wanted to turn this thing around.
I understand, John, but one of the reasons, and I get specific with my question, I guess part of the plan that I'm understanding from you all is there will be areas where it has to be totally ripped out and new grass put in. That's the time of year that I'm talking about, because that definitely is going to need more water than normal.
Yes.
So will it be done in the rainy season?
But aren't they the areas that come second?
Yes. We haven't even established a plan for that rejuvenation yet, or when what is gonna happen.
Okay.
My guess is because of what's going on here with Rona and everything else, people are leaving, we probably won't be able to do any rejuvenation until the fall, which.
Or even talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll have the opportunity to do that.
My question too is before the board finalizes this, are you two gentlemen willing to carry the torch through on this and monitor and work with them?
We have made that commitment.
Fantastic.
Yeah, but if I can make one other comment
Yeah.
or observation here as it relates to things being maintained properly. So if a plant doesn't have the proper nutrients, it's not very active. Whether it's a tree, a shrub, or grass. So the area up around the Welcome Center and the circle at the town center are both St. Augustine grass. My lawn area, even into the commons area, is St. Augustine grass. There's a number of people, and Pam and Ernie might be one of them. I'm not sure what they've done or if they've done anything on theirs. But the point needs to be made that as that nicer grass, the money that people have spent to make their lawns, their property nicer, you leave for the summer and you come back, and it takes some work to bring it back because that grass has gone through hell. I think, Joe, you've done some renovation on yours also. Yeah. So Newell, at our current mow and blow contractor, needs to educate his more operators. When you see Augustine grass, and by the way, this is what it looks like, guys, so that you know, that St. Augustine grass wants to be cut a little more often. I'm told that they're in the park almost every day during the summer months. They need to know, I need to go to these areas and cut more often, but I maybe don't need to cut this area as often or whatever. They need to manage that. But they also need to know you can't cut St. Augustine down to 1.5 inches or 2 inches. They did that in my commons area where I'm trying to, on that circle, and they scalped everything. I was gone for a week and I came back. I mean, they hadn't mowed for 6 weeks there, but Bob Wheeler and I have been mowing our part. But they hadn't mowed the stuff on the west end of our cul-de-sac for 6 weeks. So one of the residents caught him and said, come and mow. So they cut that thing down to about 1 inch, 1.5 inches, and they're scalping all our stuff and beating it up, and it still looks like heck. I can't water it because we're short on water, but I hope I don't lose it because of what they did. The point is, they need to be educated. You have to change moor heights. It takes you 5 seconds to do it. Darn it, do it.
Okay, and I'm going to ask David that he will carry that through to Newell at this time, okay? Gentlemen, I can't thank you enough. And again, here we have experts in our community that have stepped up, invested beaucoup hours and energies and knowledge to make this truly a 5-star standard community. So with that being said, Pat just looked up our landscaping budget, and it's $15,000 is what it is. We also have a special projects budget as well. But so if we adopt the Arrow at their projected bid of $17,400, that would be an extra $6,800 added into our expenses. But we have allotted for it in other areas. So I'm assuming that the 17.4 is what you're proposing and asking, correct? Thank you. We appreciate it. Great job. While we're on it, I think we're ready to, any more discussion on this within the board?
I have one question for them before they get too far away. Of the 17, which we're not going to be spending all of,
right,
do they have any idea, a best guess of what we're not going to spend initially?
Oh, okay. To be continued. Joe's question will be answered in 5 hours.
Just rough guess.
What?
We use 2/3 of it. And this, we have some idea of what we're.
Okay.
Well, we're looking at spending $6,800 that we're not touching.
That's it. Yeah, it's not like 17,000 we're looking at. We're looking at 6,800. Maybe not.
That's why I'm trying to get a rough idea.
Right, right. Okay. All righty. Do we have any?
And then we do have some, play in the contracts, the amount that's budgeted totally.
True, true.
That's probably the worst looking thing in this whole park is the grass.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt.
I've heard that from renters and people for years.
Right. Okay,
They're thinking about 10 actually is what they need.
10,000?
For this point, at this point.
Okay, which again would be only 400 over what our contract is now. Okay, okay. Thank you, gentlemen. So with that being said, let me restate this. Their proposal is to accept Aero Environmental Services for a pest and fertilization program prioritized by areas that they will work with and define with Aero to the tune of $17,400. And that's, I'm going to leave it at that. So I need a motion to accept.
A motion.
Second?
Second.
The second. Okay. All those in favor of accepting this as our contractor for fertilization and pest control?
Aye.
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 As stated, no. I think you're leaving something out of the motion. Because it's not an additional $17,000.
Did I say additional?
I thought that's what it was. Am I wrong?
No, the contract with them is what it calls.
I said it would be total cost.
Yeah. It's not an additional 17.
I didn't say
Okay.
additional. I'm sorry, I don't think I did.
That's why I was going to ask the question.
Yeah, I stopped right at that. I didn't say what the additional was. Okay, so we have the present board members saying aye, Dwayne and John.
Aye.
Okay, I think we lost Dwayne. Alrighty, so approved, and then, David, will you work with these two gentlemen to accept a contract with Aero and advise Newell that we are moving on their proposal, okay?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, now, on that same note, I'm going to jump because this is right with it. Yesterday, David, myself, and Mr. Steve Newell, who has been our lawn care and provider for quite a while, we got in the cart and we went along the total B fence line, starting almost at Luckett Road there and going down until right before B goes into D, okay? We identified 7 different areas, and I asked them to bid out these 7 different areas separately so we could pick and choose if we need to do this. Number 1, the current healthy live oak trees that are back there have never been trimmed, shaped, whatever, okay? Again, along with what you gentlemen are saying, we need to be able to maintain these trees in a healthy condition, all right? So in each section, they're going to give me a bid on trimming and maintaining the live oak trees back there. There are 2 different species of what I call stick trees, because that's all there are right now. They're just sticks. Some are pine, which are not a protected species, and some are cypress, which are a protected species. These types should have never been planted back there because cypress requires beaucoup water, and there's not that much water that goes to them. I believe, if my memory serves me right, on the pine trees, there was about 10.
I don't remember offhand how many pines there were.
10 to 15 pine trees.
Some were added.
They're going to give us a bid on the total removal of those. They're dead, okay? Now, on the stick trees of the cypress, we do have some dead cypress trees. We have some diseased cypress trees, and then we still have some cypress trees that are somewhat alive, but they may have a little green growth of a ½ inch at the most. All right, because that's a protected species, it requires permits to remove them. of which Mr. Newell feels, because we have some diseased and some dead adjacent to some quasi-alive cypress, that will be to our benefit because it will justify why those need to be removed as possible, as also. So there are pending bids coming to us on removal, trimming of the live oaks, and then a replacement option of what are we going to replace it with, sorry. And we also have 4 different options, anywhere from Calusia to plum to Arekas to buttonwoods. But I've asked for 7 different bids based on the area, because if we do this, we need to be able to pick and choose what our financial statement will allow us to do. Several of the owners' lots, they're full-time owners that look at this particular area. It is not a nice view for these owners. And they've been asking for us to look at these stick trees for several years now. We will now have a price. We will now be able to address specific areas, and when those bids come through, we'll discuss at that time. I just wanted to let you know some work in progress at this time.
I have a question.
Please.
Are you aware, Deb, that cypress trees are deciduous and they all look like stick trees right now, except the new growth that's starting to come out for the spring?
I am definitely aware of that, but I'm also aware there's some dead ones and then there are some diseased ones. And that was Mr. Newell's argument in our favor, that because some are dead and some are diseased and because of the location they are, we may get approval on some, on none.
Well, I don't think that they're even correct that you need a permit to remove those.
Okay.
So bald cypress in Florida are only protected in Florida waterways. So if
Okay.
if you're in the Everglades, you can't cut one down and use it for firewood, that sort of thing. But we should be able to remove them. I mean, there may be a permit required, but not a special permit because it's protected. It should be a pretty simple, here's a tree, we want to remove it, whether it's dead or alive.
Okay.
But Barb, what they're saying, some of those trees, actually, they have plenty of leaves and they look good. They're not in full bloom, but they look alive and no one would complain about it. And then 2 trees down, you see the progression where, they look dead and then there's maybe one in between that is sort of disease. So Steve does think there's something that's keeping some of those from looking as good as others are looking right now, because some of them do look okay, whether they're dormant or not. That was my question too. I said, well, they go dormant this time of year, but Steve thinks that there's a disease that's probably keeping some of them from looking to their potential.
So once we get the bids as a board, we'll look at our financial situation and make any determinations of what we can do. Just quickly, I want to talk about our water runoff issue, the surveys that we've had. I'm working with an owner, Jack Schatzel, who he has expertise in excavating, which will be needed to clear our swales. We had to postpone our meeting tomorrow, but I don't think Dwayne's back on the call yet, but I want to extend, he's not, thank you. I wanted to, before Jack and I get involved with this, I want to invite Dwayne, who actually I think has already invited himself in, to help us navigate through some of the county situations and partner with him. So I'll be getting together with Jack Schatzel and Mr. Truitt, hopefully next week based on Mr. Truitt's schedule, to start laying the path that we need to follow on this. So that's where we are on that right now. Can we go ahead and get a social committee update? She didn't get the memo. So we will not get a social committee, just general update. But
we have a new member.
Okay, we have a new member, so says Diane Leffler, our social director.
Betty Wedling has stepped down as she's moved out of part, and Carol Burrell is now.
Who is a new owner.
Correct.
Right, is that great?
We have new officers.
Okay.
Linda Matthew will continue as chairman.
All right.
Vice president will be Secretary is Nancy Cullen. Treasurer will be Billy Ross, who is a member but a non-voting member. And the
Okay.
rest will be open members or members at large.
Another great job by some very talented owners and renters that we appreciate. All righty. Let's knock out the shower tower bid, and then I think we'll go into summer projects, David, okay?
So there's a couple options here. These were sort of recommended by our facilities committee when discussed a couple, maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. When you add a couple of the options that we need, such as a mounting plate, the cost becomes, well, a little bit more than we initially planned, which was $2,600. It brings it up to either $31.59 or $37.59 to be, or plus installation, which Chris may be able to do since this is not technically plumbing. He just has to connect the valve. We already have a shutoff in place. The question becomes now, do we want stainless steel or a powder coated finish? There is a price difference between the two. The stainless steel is roughly $600 more.
I have a question, David. I've been looking at some of them online as far as for swimming pools. Why would we not want just a regular, a tower that's just a shower? Because that's all our folks use. We don't have sand that needs a foot wash. We don't really need foot washes. We don't need 2 or 4 shower heads. I mean, you rarely see someone use one even to shower off with. So why would we be looking at that type of tower instead of just a shower tower?
Well, this is again what was recommended, and it's close to what we had in place. But the previous one is $5,500 for a replacement. These are significantly less. Now there are options. I could probably find this same one without the foot wash attachments, and it may be about $400 or $500 cheaper.
Well, the reason I'm asking too is the one that we have. I was told by you that we have what, 4 shower heads,
yes.
And only one working. Only one's working because that's the one that gets used. Nobody else even probably has tried to use them, and with Florida water the way it is, it's probably clogged up. But that's another reason why I was thinking, why wouldn't we just go with one good shower head for a shower?
I think her point is well taken, and why don't you just look at a scaled down model without a foot bath? Because if you shower, does not the water run down on your feet anyway? So.
Barb, I'll send you the website or a couple websites because these are all over the internet.
Okay.
There's just a couple requirements that we need. It'll make installation cheaper, probably save us money if we have the right mounting base and things. But I'll
so what are you going to send me the website for?
To look at and pick whichever shower you prefer, since these ones are complex.
Wait a minute, I don't get to choose whichever shower. I'm asking for a simplified shower tower. How hard would that be for you to look up and say, here's what I found?
Well,
hey, can I answer a little bit of that? I think
I've not seen any one that you recommended until right now.
We've actually talked about this at a couple prior meetings, and then it was given to the facilities committee, kicked back. Here's what we ended up with. I will, but I just, there's different options, and they look different.
Hold on, John.
You can find one with a single shower head if it's just the big stainless look.
John Genovese, head of facilities, oversight of facilities. You have a question, sir?
Well, more of a comment. I know part of the reason that they selected the one that they did say that there was a cheaper one. However, the one that they selected is a direct fold up to what we have today, which means that there's very, or much less, I guess, installation required. If we make any change, you might save a couple dollars on the unit, but then spend a fair amount more on the installation. That's my understanding.
Okay.
Point well taken, John, but my issue is not the cost of the thing. My issue is
The use.
the use that we need, and also it's just something else to go wrong, just like that's why we're replacing this one. The one shower head still worked, passed by the health inspector when she came through, yet we're looking to replace it. And it's just because of non-use that those are clogged up in the first place. It's just something else to go wrong.
I have a quick question. What do we have up at the Welcome Center?
It's a one.
It's literally a shower head coming
Exactly.
out of the wall.
Exactly.
Not to be a stupid question, why can't we do that here?
Because you'd have to mount it to the building.
Well, I understand.
Just
on
cover up the
point-
hole that's out there.
But, I mean, I'm just curious, what, if there's,
Well,
To me, they're,
Well, there's no drain in.
okay, and that's a.
I don't think aesthetically it's where you would want it, especially if it's near the grill area where that gazebo
It would
is.
only be on, the only place to put it is directly under the awning out here.
Because of water source.
Yeah, it has to come through the bathroom wall,
Right.
so it would just.
Okay,
run out the
Good,
walls.
that's all right. It's okay.
So there's a single, basically the same version of this, single side. It does have a foot spray because you can't get it without.
Mm-hmm.
It's $1,800 plus a couple options here, and that's a powder coated version only. They don't make it in stainless.
It has to be mounted to a wall.
No, just
Standalone tower.
Another tower similar to this with only one shower and 1 foot wash.
Let me say that Pat has found something that I will send to the board. Very affordable. Very affordable.
I
We'll send it-
can't wait.
We'll send, no, it's not bad. It really
See
isn't.
this.
I mean, Pat, would you just send that out to the board? Send it to David. It looks like it might work for what we're talking about, and probably we should order one to put at the Welcome Center too, because it's so cost effective. Instead of just a shower head coming out of a building, you'll have to look at it, but anyway. But we know we gotta get one.
Serious to this.
You say, yes.
Is this a serious?
No, it's good. No, it's interesting, so.
Stainless steel, freestanding, but it does have a foot shower, only 500.
And one shower head. Okay, so we'll look at it. Hey, does that have to be a surface mount or is it freestanding?
It's a freestanding.
Oh, all right.
I thought it was gonna be a joke.
No, I know. All right, can tell we're getting late in the day here and we're all getting a little slap happy. Just run down a couple quick ones here. The quality assurance inspection was conducted by First Services, part of our contract. It was on a perfect score of 5. We came in at a 3.76. It is more of a risk management quality assurance inspection instead of aesthetics or cleanliness. David and the facilities committee is working to put a PM program together that should knock out a lot of these issues. I am putting a challenge out to our staff, however, that I've called for a second QA in November, and that if they achieve a 4.5 out of a 5 or higher, that there will definitely be an achievement recognition, and the board will make a determination on what we feel is appropriate on that. But that would be a huge step forward in attaining our 5-star standards that we're reaching for. Do we have anything yet on a preventive maintenance program that's in print or anything yet? Okay, silence. So we will work on that. David has some really great news to announce on some asphalt repair work that needed to be done, right?
Yes, in front of C100 where we had to dig up the entire road to install a new sewer line. The first and only bid I got until this morning was $1,600, and they said that they could have done it, with about a week's notice. Our company that we have already approved to fix the potholes in the park, we approved that, I believe, last fall, and they put us on hold because they're so busy. They actually had a job canceled today and had a crew available and said, hey, I'll come over and do it for $500-600 tops and take care of you today. And that includes digging out the dirt that's in the road, backfilling with the proper rocks, compacting it. I mean, they brought the whole rig in. It's done right now, actually, or I'm sure they've completed it since 8 a.m. this morning. But yeah, will be less than $600, and that repair is now officially done.
Good news. Awesome. Yay. Fantastic. There are good people out there, are there not? And thanks for jumping on that, David. We appreciate it. And as long as we're on asphalt and road repairs, we still have our anticipated road repairs for 2020 on our project list. Priority 1, projected estimated cost is $8,000. Second quarter, so you'll be getting other bids on that. And since we're allotting that kind of money, we know we want this done second quarter before rainy season, right? Alrighty, moving quickly along. John Genovese, do you have anything on replacement golf carts yet?
Yeah, so I've done a pretty good bit of analysis on this, and I came to a couple of conclusions. So for one, there have been several units that have been for sale, varying years, and so forth. And even if you took the lowest one and said, okay, $2,600, batteries are not exactly new. So you're probably looking at batteries relatively short term, another $1,000. You don't know what kind of actual condition these things are in. You're probably looking at something that's going to be, potential maintenance needed. So with that, I looked at newer units, and I looked at a completely factory rebuilt new unit. And they are a little bit more expensive. Now, the way these golf carts work is, just generally speaking, unless you're buying a brand new one, these things are leased out to a golf course, or some other establishment that uses a lot of them. And when they come in off of lease, they end up in places like Affordable. So you can buy a 2017 unit, and it'll have new batteries in it. It'll be in very nice condition, and you'll pay $4,800 for it. Now, you can buy a brand new one. Again, it's not a new one. A brand new one be $8,000-$10,000, but this is a factory refurb where they completely replace all the moving parts. They put new batteries, new charger, new tires, new everything. So this is virtually a brand new unit, and it would be listed as a 2020. And the bottom line, tax included, would be $6,385. Now, yes, that's more. There's no doubt about it. That's a more expensive unit, but by the same token, I think you're buying a maintenance-free unit for the next 5 to 7 years, simply because it's refurb. It's going to have brand new batteries. The new battery chargers, by the way, are much smarter. They're much better for the batteries, make your batteries last longer. It would be my recommendation, that we do the 5-star thing, which is to buy this refurbed unit.
And you skipped out on that. What was the price on that, roughly?
It's $6,384.68. That's taxes, everything.
Okay. Let me look here. On our projects listed, we put that as a priority 2 at $4,500. So we're talking $2,000 more, right? Roughly?
Yeah, that's roughly correct. Yes.
Okay. So board, how do you want to proceed with this?
What are we getting the golf cart for? Who are we getting the golf cart for?
Because, David, you want to take that one?
Well, yeah, Mel's golf cart is on its last leg. She can barely drive the thing half the time. It's not worth putting money into to fix. So we would need one to, I guess, replace the cart that Angela and I share, and then Mel could take over, whoever the housekeeper is gonna take over the existing manager and mail cart.
Any discussion, board?
Is this set up as a golf cart? Wrong way. Is this set up from a golf course, so it's got the bags in the back, or has this got a flat back on it?
No, it would have, much like the 4-passenger units, it would be a 4-passenger with the back that opens up into a flat back.
Okay.
My memory says that, this would be used by David for inspecting the park and doing some other stuff, which potentially could be carrying some other folks around, but then also be able to do the flat back type work.
Where is this cart, John?
This is an affordable. By the way, I called every single place. Affordable is minimum $500 to the next closest person, and a fair amount less than some of the other establishments. I called them all and asked for pricing from all.
Any other comments? Pat, do you have anything? No?
Dave?
Yeah, is this an Easy Go or what's the brand?
It is it's a club car that has the aluminum frame, which, down here is a plus.
Okay. Alrighty.
Real quick, sorry, Kathy Orris has one for sale. I think she's asking around $2,800. Well, she has new batteries in it. It has doors on it to keep, Angela and myself dry, which I don't believe John's would come with the doors and covers already. I think she has the same back cover that folds down, but her batteries were just replaced fairly recently.
Isn't that a
Never
smaller?
mind, it's sold. We waited too long.
Oh, sorry. So, okay, we're back to we're back to John's recommendation of $6,400 for a club car with aluminum. Anybody want to make a motion?
There's a need, I'll make a motion.
Do we have a second? Okay.
I'm very reluctant. Changing out a battery is $600 for,
So do you want to try
we
just?
don't need a
Not-
new refurbished.
Not for the good batteries.
Yeah, Kathy spent $20,000,
Trojans won't.
I believe, on her battery pack and had the
Jeez.
show it. So she was selling it just for what they recently put in.
How many batteries goes in that cart?
Not sure, but she spent $2,500, so something maybe more or less.
I would rather see us look for someone's in the park that is in excellent shape and buy it a whole lot cheaper than buying a $7,000 refurbished cart.
You can absolutely buy used ones for less money.
Is there a
But
warranty with
you're
this?
there is a 1-year warranty with it. And Joe over there says that he generally doesn't see these things back.
Perhaps we could put out
They're virtually new.
Excuse me, John. Perhaps we can put it out to the community. Hey, do you have a good battery used golf cart that the office could buy? You'd be surprised what you'll find.
It's not a bad idea to try it.
I'm okay with putting this on hold for.
Okay.
It's not a high priority at the moment with all these other things
That we
going
just
on.
approved today.
Yeah, so we can check out this cart, see if it'll
Okay.
work for us, and then we'll see whatever else pops up before.
Okay, we'll table it for now, but we also know it could come back to us pretty quickly as a need
Okay,
also.
If something dies, sure, then,
Right.
So does that mean we're not gonna put it out there to see what?
Oh, no,
is
I
out
think we
there?
should. No, I think we should send out a blast to the community. Wanted. To buy. So you want to take care of that, sir?
Sure.
And if something's there, great. If not, it may present itself a month from now.
Thank
So.
you.
Alrighty. David, I do think we need to talk on lake levels, and I think that would be the final item, okay?
Right, well, I think everyone knows that the lakes are very low. Barb sent an email to the board and everyone the other day suggesting that we shut off the fountains, which is perfect time for it. Fountains increase the rate of evaporation in the lakes, and our lakes are only getting lower and lower. So fountains have been shut off, and actually I'll send an email blast, 'cause a couple people told me.
Can I interrupt you real quick?
Yes.
That was one of Pam Moran's questions. She thought the fountains were broken and we had just put $7,000 in. It's a conservation.
Yes.
It's a conservation measure that we have to do to shut the fountains down because the water evaporates, right?
Correct.
Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
That's it.
Something else before that's it. Explain to me why we can't be pumping more water from our wells to keep these more full, because eventually it's gonna get to the point that we can't even run the irrigation when it gets down so low. But we have wells that we constantly monitor, correct, as far as the input, output? Explain that to us, David.
Okay, our well, permit only allows us to, use the wells for irrigation. They're not to artificially raise the level of your lake. So we can pump, 2 million gallons per month can be pumped into our lakes, provided that our pumps show that we have used 2 million gallons a month for irrigation. It has to be a 1-to-1 ratio.
Sure.
Now we can irrigate more than we pump in. So if it's incredibly rainy, we can pump extra water out and not have to put the wells, past a certain point. But we can't do it the other way where we're putting 2 million gallons into our lake and only pumping out 1 million gallons.
Okay, so that my pea brain can figure this out. The water that keeps going down is due from evaporation, no rain, I understand that. But the water that's continually going down is because we're sucking it out for irrigation too.
Yes.
So that irrigation that we're using twice a week out of all of this water is not gonna offset putting.
There is a gauge, a meter on the irrigation pump and on the well pumps in both of the lakes. Those numbers have to match. There's just no way, we can stop irrigating, but we also have to turn off the pumps if we do that, the well pumps. So we can't use the wells to raise the level.
Okay, then let me ask you another question. Do we continually have the well is it continually pumping?
Yes.
Or do we turn it on and off?
Well, it's turned on and off with a timer. It pumps in a certain amount every night. I think it runs overnight, but it pumps in as we're pumping out.
Well, it's my understanding years ago, before David, the wells did not get used until we turned them on.
Mm-hmm.
The water did not get pumped out of the wells until we physically turned them on with the.
Okay, they're on. I mean, there's a an automatic timer that turns them on now. And we can turn that off over the summertime if our lakes get high. We can just go and shut off the wells.
But we need it now.
Right, but so we can't, and that's the other question we ask. Well, can we conserve in the summer and use more this time of year? No, we just have a maximum of 2 million gallons that we can pull out in any given month.
So you're telling me that we already maximize our input from the wells right now?
Yes, we actually run over that amount. Our wells pump out a little bit more than they're supposed to right now, but we also irrigate that amount out of the park.
Wasn't that on an email that Dwayne sent out?
Yes.
That their engineers found out that the county had told us that we overpumped?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's exactly right.
Yeah, we overpump every month, and they know that, and I have communication with them. It's been going on here for years, just because of the size of the park and our system. $2 million is not.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, they can come out and check it anytime, so that wouldn't.
That Steve did.
So right, the wells are running now. I mean, we can't increase the amount that the wells are pumping in. We're already over our. We'll call it a limit because they call it a limit, but we run over that every month, and so far it hasn't been an issue. If we keep running over and we were in a drought situation where they started, enforcing limits on people a little bit more, then I think we would be in trouble and have to cut back our wells. But for right now, they're running as much as they're allowed to run. So our only option would be, we don't have an option. We can't cut off irrigation. If we cut off irrigation, we also have to cut off the well.
I think Gary's got a question.
You're worried about the level of the ponds. but this time of year, the groundwater level is way low.
Right.
So if you end up pumping water into that, it's still just gonna filter right out through to the, you know, your groundwater level is only at a certain height this time of year.
I understand, Gary. I can just remember last year or the year before, when was it? We had
Pump
the-
trucks,
Huh?
pump trucks.
Yeah, we had to bring water in.
We were pumping from D Lake, get the D Lake down, but at one point, the pumps in D, the well pumps weren't even running. Right, because quote, they were broken, they had a broken line.
Right.
Why don't we pump more water out of D Lake? Why don't we pull water out of D Lake for irrigation?
Because it'll look like this.
Well, point being, when they built D Lake, it was way deeper than A Lake. If you pull the intake for these wells, or these pumps, run a line through that pipe, if it'll go through it, to D Lake, and make your pickup in D Lake, because you can take 10 foot out of D Lake and there's still a lot of water in there. That lake was really deep.
So right now, our lakes, I don't know if we pump out of D Lake, I guess I don't know that offhand, but we do pump into D Lake. It does have its own well. There's one well in this lake, one
Yes.
well in D Lake.
Yes.
And I believe because of the culvert, the pipe running between the lakes, that the levels are somewhat even. They may not look like it from the surface, but the level of the culverts is maintaining at least the same level
That's
above
a
sea
transfer
level.
pipe.
Right. So we pump into both of them, and because of that pipe, it doesn't matter which side we pump out of, they'll self-level through that culvert.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is if you pump out of D Lake, you don't need the wells for a while. Just pump lake water. Because that lake's deep.
Why don't,
And you can't pump this much out of here because the intakes are just about.
Jack,
I can stand over there and see them.
I think you've got some good points, so why don't I ask you to visit with David after this meeting? Because this has gone on 2.5 hours now, and I think we've got residents that are probably pretty tired, as well as a board. I think we do need to hear your comments.
Yeah, this just shows why people who just inconsiderately turn on their water
Right.
when they shouldn't. I was watching 2 lots over here. I finally got Dave's attention, he saw it. But I mean, it's just in the middle of the day.
Right.
It's stupid.
Right.
They're working on it. I mean,
Okay.
they're working on their system. You know, when we changed this rule and we said we're gonna give an irrigation class and really encourage people to do work on their own, we sort of encourage that behavior.
Oh, yeah.
Half hour worth?
Well, that's about how long it takes to, you know, it shouldn't be running a half hour at once, but Chris was involved with them over there, so he knows.
Thank you, Jack, very much. So there's just a couple items that we didn't talk about that I think I'll table to our next meeting. None of them are pressing. In closing, though, I just want our owners know that this board just approved today over $20,000 worth of projects, much needed projects, but we are focused on bringing this community up to a 5-star standard, and we will pursue that track. We also appreciate the support that the community's been giving this board with some of the tough decisions that we've had to make in the last couple of weeks with the virus and so on. So, with that being said, we've covered an awful lot today, and I thanks for everyone's perseverance, so we will need a motion to close.
You got it.
Add a second.